At 8:14, gravity was supposed to turn the entire city upside down. It didn't. Before the alarms could start, a canal 300 meters above Sloane Mercer pushed past its upper edge. The water dropped from the ceiling city in a blue wall and fell straight toward the market below. Sloane ran as the first impact folded glass canopies flat behind her and turned a sunlit plaza into an indoor storm. Her wrist terminal lit while she was still moving. The message came from her 9-year-old daughter Ivy's school on the upper side. Gravity cycle failed. Students secured. Do not attempt crossing. Sloane looked up at the school and ran before the message finished. Across the central atrium, thousands of people remained clipped to streets that had just become real ceilings. The nearest conversion train should have carried Sloane across the central void in 6 minutes. She headed for it at a run. The rail crossed open air between the two city faces. If it still worked, Ivy was only one station away. Sloane reached the platform and found the train hanging beneath its rail, intact, powered, and facing a direction the city no longer understood. The doors opened. The car could move only toward what the system still called down. That direction led away from Ivy. Sloane hit the upper side command twice. The panel rejected both requests and locked the route. She left the station and took the service stairs 3 levels at a time. A grocery stall tore loose above the route. Boxes and a metal frame fell 300 meters toward the lower transit deck. Sloane crossed the impact zone seconds before the load hit, and security shutters sealed the corridor behind her. Above her, people on the upper side crawled along safety lines across streets that had become actual ceilings. Ivy called. Her voice stayed calm until she said the school had lost water and one classroom window had cracked. Sloane told her to stay clipped in and follow her teacher. Then the connection dropped. The maintenance lift was Sloane's second route, built to connect both city halves when the public network failed. Its cabin was waiting. Its counterweight was not. Without the reversal, the balance system could not choose a direction. Sloane opened the emergency panel. Someone had already forced the manual drive and burned out the motor. She had lost 2 routes in less than 9 minutes. Sloane stopped looking for transport and started looking for structure. Outside, the city looked impossible even to people born there. One neighborhood underfoot, another spread upside down across the bright sky. Sloane kept moving through a service terrace while crews sealed the public routes behind her. Waiting for instructions would only move Ivy farther out of reach. For generations, every building had been designed to become floor and ceiling in turn. Beds locked, water lines reversed, trains changed their load direction. Streets carried traffic on both faces. The city had never needed a permanent down. Its people trusted that direction would always change. Today it had one, and half the city was trapped on the wrong side of it. Sloane entered an old inspection spine running through the central support truss. It was a narrow lattice of ladders, cables, and platforms suspended between both cities with nothing beneath them but air. Halfway in, every loose tool on Sloane's belt became lighter. A wrench lifted from its clip. Sloane stopped. The failure had changed again. Gravity had not frozen. It was drifting, slowly rotating away from every direction the emergency plans assumed. A maintenance sensor showed the pole turning by less than 1 degree every 3 minutes. That sounded small until Sloane looked across 300 meters of open atrium. The distance made every degree enormous. Anything unsecured would soon fall sideways. Trains, water tanks, furniture, trees, and people. She called Ivy again. Her teacher said the class was moving into the building's inner wall. That wall normally became a floor during transition. For the next few minutes, it might be the safest surface left. Sloane clipped both tether lines to the spine and kept climbing toward the upper district. The city stood where 2 massive neighboring bodies competed for the same pole, shifting the dominant direction with their orbit. For 173 years, that change had arrived closely enough on schedule to feel permanent. This morning, the schedule had ended. Nobody knew whether it would return in an hour, a year, or ever. Sloane reached a junction where 3 maintenance paths split across the atrium. One led straight toward Ivy's school. A loose inspection drone drifted past her face instead of falling. For a moment, it simply hung there. Then it slid sideways toward a wall that had never been meant to catch falling machines. Sloane chose the path with the most anchor points, not the shortest route. Far below, the market flood changed direction and began running across a vertical wall. Blue water climbed where people had walked. Benches, signs, cargo carts, and broken glass followed it toward a new ground no map labeled. The emergency network ordered everyone to stay fixed in place. Sloane listened while moving faster toward the school. Ivy's school was 400 meters away, across the brightest and widest part of the atrium. The normal bridge had folded itself shut for the transition that never came. Sloane clipped her tether to the exposed exterior rail, tested the anchor once, and stepped out over the open void. Her shoes pressed less firmly against the metal with every step. The open space around her seemed to grow. At the bridge center, her weight vanished. Her next step lifted her away from the rail. For 3 seconds, Sloane floated while water droplets and paper hung around her like suspended glass. Then gravity returned from Sloane's left. Not below, from the side. The entire city lurched sideways. People, water, vehicles, and loose structures chose the same new direction. Water became a horizontal waterfall. An empty train slammed into restraint cables. Trees bent toward a wall. Sloane hit the rail hard and caught her tether before the new pull carried her into open space. The cable snapped tight across her chest. She stopped thinking about up and down. There was only the next direction, the next anchor, and Ivy. Sloane turned 90 degrees and ran along what had been the side of the bridge. The school windows were no longer above her. They were almost level with her body. Inside, children crawled along a wall while teachers clipped them one by one to a handrail. Ivy saw her through the glass and pointed toward a small emergency service hatch near the new floor. Sloane reached it as the building groaned under a sideways load it was never meant to carry continuously. A support frame beside the hatch bowed several centimeters. Sloane had one usable opening before the structure shifted again. She opened the hatch and locked her tether to the inner rail. Sloane pulled the first child onto the bridge frame while the teacher kept the rest clipped inside. One by one, the class crossed toward the central truss while gravity continued rotating. No one could stand upright anymore. The teacher crossed with the last 2 children and locked the hatch behind them as the frame twisted out of alignment. Sloane brought Ivy across last. Ivy clipped onto her mother's line and never asked which way was down. By sunset, the old cycle had not returned. One half of the city would never become a floor again. The evacuation lasted 6 weeks. Engineers cut new doors through walls and built streets along vertical faces. Months later, new homes stretched between the 2 old cities instead of belonging to either one. Children learned routes their parents still called walls, ceilings, and shafts. The city survived. It just had to stop believing that down was permanent.